All right, first things first, wanted to start this one off by talking about your last fight. You got to finish on a great card. What did you think went well for you?
Just the wrestling was definitely there. It was he didn't defend the wrestling at all. So once I got to the ground, I felt pretty confident that I was gonna get a finish, just because he's real comfortable staying on his back. So it was nice to get the fight to the ground really easy. And then my jiu-jitsu definitely took over on the ground.
So you've now won two straight fights. You're 3-1, your second stint in the UFC. When can we expect to see you back in there?
As soon as possible, man. I just told the matchmakers that I was down to do short notice fight, or if they want to put me on a big card and give me a ring fight, that's fine too. So it's really kind of just up to them, and hopefully I'll know this week. My manager gets back in town. He was in London for the week for the fight, this weekend, and so hopefully when he gets back, we'll get something on the books.
So if that were to be a short notice fight, would you take a fight at lightweight, even though you'd be up a weight class? You're looking good at featherweight, your second run. Are you opposed to a lightweight booking at all?
No, that's what I would prefer lightweight for a short notice because of the weight cut and stuff like that. So it would help me as far as like being a little bit heavier going into the fight. I think that the weight cut is always the issue, but a short notice fight, it would be nice to not cut so much weight, and that way I could just worry about my cardio and performing right.
So now that we're starting to do the fight nights with fans, starting with London yesterday, we've got it in the States in Columbus next weekend. You have the chance to get in front of fans again for your next fight. How are you feeling about that?
Man, that would be awesome. I've never really paid attention to like all the fans and all the buildup and stuff like that before COVID and before having to fight the Apex all the time. But after fighting there, like at the Apex 4 times, I'm just ready to be like normal again and be around some people and have that crowd, that have the noise, have all that, the crazy fans and stuff. So I'm definitely ready for the fight night to be outside the Apex. But the Apex is pretty cool too. So there's definitely pros and cons to both, but I'm ready for fans for sure.
Do you have a preference, strictly speaking, with the Octagon? Do you have a preference for the regular one or the smaller one in the Apex?
Honestly, I think the smaller one's built more for wrestlers and for grapplers. The bigger one, it's honest. Like when you get someone backed up in the cage, it's pretty much the same cage. But when your footwork's not good or your wrestling's not good, like your open mat wrestling, when it's not very good, the big cage it's trouble for a lot of wrestlers. So, for me, for my style, I don't mind taking someone down off the cage or using the cage either way. So for my style, I don't care either way. I wouldn't mind being in a big cage again, but just because I know that would be a bigger card if I'm like in that big cage. So, but I'm just down to fight whenever and whoever. So hopefully I get something this week.
Are there any names that have crossed your mind that you'd like to get in there with?
There's definitely people that would be cool to get in there with, but it's like I would love to fight Bryce Mitchell, but I'm not gonna go be an asshole and call him out because I don't know. Just the ranking system is not there for me to call him out like that. So if I can get someone in top 15, top 20 would be nice. We got Andre Philly would be a solid matchup. Bryce Mitchell, Alex Canceres. Like there's plenty of guys that would be cool to fight and that I would like to fight. But I just at this point right now, I told the matchmakers, I told Sean and the guys at the UFC, I just told them that like, hey, anytime you need me short notice or if you need me to fill in on a big card or whatever, like just put me in. Like I'm just ready to go whenever. So hopefully like having that openness is good and it shows them that I'm serious and I want to make a big hard push this year for the top 15. So if that matchup comes, I'll take it.
I'm going to play a little bit of fantasy matchmaker here, even though I don't do this very often. Chase Hooper, that would be an awesome stylistic fight between the two of you. How do you envision that kind of fight going?
The exact same way as Kamuela fight. I would smash him in the wrestling, and then my grappling, I would destroy him on the ground. And I was kind of worried about Kamuela, thinking that he would have better wrestling defense. And so with the Chase Hooper fight, I would completely feel full confident taking him down, just controlling him and beating him up, doing whatever I wanted.
So now that you're back in the octagon in force, what sort of things have you done differently in training, preparing for a fight that you do differently from your first stint in the UFC several years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I tell a story a lot, but like, when I made it to the UFC the first time, I had only been fighting professionally for a year and a half. So I had zero experience. All of my amateur fights were done from me being a wrestler, just in the wrestling room. And so I had no one to train with. And then when I went pro, I was at one gym for a few months, and then I went and met with my coach in Dallas, and I was at, Fortis from there on out. And I'd only been fighting for a year and a half when I made it in. So for you're talking 2012, I think was when I started. So, like you got, 8 years of experience, 6 years of experience. And then to get back in the UFC with all that experience it's huge. So, I'm a completely different person and fighter, everything. So for me, I feel way more well-rounded on the feet to where I can box and I can work my wrestling. And then once I get the fight to the ground, I've been grappling every day since 7th grade. So it's like, you're talking 20 years of, me grappling. So that experience definitely is coming out though.
Well, that's a great sort of story, because there have been a lot of folks like yourself that have got the opportunity to come back in the UFC in 2020 when they needed a lot of people to step up, when they had to people test positive for COVID or those sorts of situations.
Yeah.
Was that your situation when you got the call in September of 2020?
Yeah, when I started seeing people like falling off the cart because of COVID and everything like that, I just started cutting weight every week. I was down to like where I could, make weight in just a matter of like 2 or 3 days. And so like I was, I was running on the bridge with my sauna suit on, with sweats on and everything. And then my coach calls me and said, "Hey, we got this Betic fight. Maybe this might be it." And so my manager is going back and forth with UFC. They had no one else that would step up, and it was like a 3-day notice fight. So whenever I stepped up, it was like last minute, and I knew I had to make weight, because you don't want to take a short notice fight and then miss weight, because it just doesn't look good. So whenever I got that call, I was ready to roll, and that was definitely a huge opportunity.
That was a situation also where you went out and you performed really well. What were your thoughts in the moment at that point in time? You were back in it. You had a great performance. I mean, where was your head at that time?
I knew he was going to be aggressive coming at me, and I thought he was going to be more aggressive on the feet. So once he started taking me down, I was like, "Oh my God, this guy's like saving my life," because if we were to stand up, I was going to be dog tired, because I had no training camp. I was not prepared for that kind of fight. So the fact that he came out and was like, he was so willing to go to the ground. He gave me the opportunity to submit him, because he was just so aggressive with his takedowns and stuff. And he kept giving me his neck, and I'm like, "You keep giving me that neck, I'm going to get it eventually." And so it was nice whenever, I got in there and got the finish and stuff. That was huge. And it was, big confidence booster, and just the mentality of coming in short notice. And, it helps the UFC out a lot, and it helped me to get back there, just because, that it was kind of a crappy opportunity, but I took advantage of it.
When it comes to your next fight, switching the subject back to that a bit, if you were to get an early summer fight, maybe June, late May, something to that effect, would you want to fight again in 2022 after that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I kind of made a post about that the other day. Like, being in the top 15 would be great, but those guys in the top 15, they just kind of sit on the shelf for a freaking one fight a year. And it's kind of weird. I'm like, I feel like if you're in the top 15 or top 20, you should be fighting, just as consistently as anyone else. And the fact that they get a ranking, and then they want to like lay low for a while to see who's going to win and lose and whatever. But I just feel like that's not my mindset for sure. I don't know if it's right or not, but if I ever break top 15, I'm going to be asking for fights the exact same way. So If staying out of the top 15 is going to help me with being more consistent and fighting more often, then I'll do that. And if it's, if I can make my way into the top 15 and then possibly take a replacement fight for one of these guys that get hurt, or if COVID's the issue or whatever the issues are, like if I can come in and take a short notice fight, I'll do that too. Like, I'm not scared to fight, and I'm just want to go out there and perform and get to compete. I love competing.
We're early enough in the year that I can still ask this question. What sort of goals do you have for yourself as a fighter by the end of this year?
Top 15 for sure. That's definitely something that I knew that I was like, man, I'm gonna get this win, and then I can really ask for someone at least the top 20. So if I can get someone in the top 20, that means next fight I get someone in the top 15. So breaking the top 15 would be big, and it's definitely a goal.
What have you been training and enjoying about training and doing well, as you've had a couple of fights where you've been able to have a decent layoff instead of just taking short notice? What's been going well, in the gym and as you prepared?
Just always my grappling. I've been really kind of falling back in love with wrestling. So I was coaching the whole year for Rockwall. I coached the middle school programs, and had a great year with those kids. And being back in the room, made me kind of fall back in love with just wrestling, like drilling and going to high school practice and just being like a normal wrestler again. So that's definitely something that picked back up.
There's been a lot of talk about wrestling in the sport with, people like Islam and Khabib, and the wrestling as a skill is going to be a need as you see those kind of guys rising up the ranks. How do you feel that your particular skill set makes you dangerous in the octagon?
I think mine is just as dangerous as any of those guys, but as far as submission, ability, I feel like my jiu-jitsu is better than a lot of them. And I think that they definitely have good wrestling takedowns and good top control, but I think a lot of them are kind of lacking in the submission part. And, I think that if you look at my record, I'm 20-4 and I have 20 wins and I have 18 finishes. And, I think I have 16 or 17 subs. So it's those guys are great and everything, but I can finish fights, first, second, or third. And I think a lot of times they have kind of a boring decision, but they might get a TKO, from holding someone in position, but their submission skills, I feel like mine are, superior for sure.
Well, that wraps up what I had for you this time around, man. Again, really appreciate
Awesome.
you being on. It's been a real pleasure and a great talk. So I really appreciate it. And I wish you the best going forward.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.